Welcome to Season 5 of the Get Out of Teaching podcast, presented by Larksong Enterprises. This podcast is for teachers who are considering leaving education but feel like they have no options. I'm your host, Elizabeth Diakos. I'm a career transition coach who guides overwhelmed teachers through a 5-step process out of education and into a life they love. I'd like to see a world where the work of teachers is valued and respected, and that teachers have a career pathway that enables them to continue to offer value to society beyond their work in the classroom. So in this season, we'll be speaking with wellbeing experts who can help you to stay well as you plan your exit. If you're almost ready to leave and you need to redo your resume, check out my Resume Revamp digital download. It's a comprehensive guide to making your resume show off your assets. For $49.95 Australian dollars, you'll get pre-filled, eye-pleasing resume and cover letter templates in both US letter and A4 size, a lexicon of teacher terminology with a translation to corporate speak, and a bonus PDF on getting past applicant tracking software. Check out the Resume Revamp package on the product page of larksong.com.au and come along for the ride as we get out of teaching. Episode 6. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. On today's show, I'm really pleased to be speaking with Cassandra Hill, who is a Christian holistic wellness influencer who transforms the health of women. Cassandra, thanks so much for coming on the Get Out of Teaching podcast today.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Elizabeth.
Okay, so Cassandra, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
Sure, a little bit about what I do. I cater to women, of course. And what I do, I work with us in developing a wellness program that's centered on their physical, emotional, and spiritual health. It's customized to meet their needs wherever they are, whether they're struggling with type 2 diabetes, hypertension, just fill in the blank, menopause, whatever challenges you're having in your health, we develop a plan that alleviates or possibly reverses the health challenges that you're having, either physically or emotionally.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful and extensive claim to make about being able to reverse or at least mitigate those symptoms. How do you actually do that?
Sure. Well, it's a big claim that I was the first person who started. I practiced on myself. Actually, my background, my first career, I had a career as a gerontologist, which is basically a person who specializes in the study of aging. I did that for about a decade. And then at some point, my body shut down and I was diagnosed with systemic lupus.
Okay.
Initially, I underwent traditional treatment with that and really had a lot of side effects from the drugs that I was taking. Most pharmaceutical drugs come with side effects. And
So,
so I
sorry,
went,
I'll just stop you, Cassandra. Systemic lupus, that's like an autoimmune deficiency, is that right?
that is correct.
And
Yes,
how
it
does
is.
that manifest itself? Like, what is that? What are some of the symptoms of that?
Some of the symptoms of that includes joint pain. It includes with systemic, it attacks throughout the body. So you may have difficulty breathing because it affects the respiratory. For some people, it does affect the digestion in your body. So just having a hard time holding nutrition in your body, maybe nauseated, vomiting, those sort of things. Anemia is another symptom that's common for people with lupus. But the number one pain most people have with whether it's systemic or another form of lupus is the pain. Just hard to put into words the level of pain a lot of people with lupus experience on a day-to-day basis.
Right. So it like whole over the whole body.
Yes, over the
Okay.
whole body. And so diagnosed with that. and was doing chemo drugs and steroids to manage that. Really wasn't happy with the side effects because we all know every pharmaceutical is going to come with side effects. So I ended up going back to college, studying health, wellness, and alternative health, and developed a regimen that put me in remission. So I've actually been in remission since 2016 with systemic lupus. So
Wow.
started on myself, and now I help other women, as I mentioned, generally with another client that I would work with, another woman I would work with. We start off, you complete a survey. In that survey, I learn about you. I learn the things you eat and drink on a regular basis. I learn about the people you surround yourself with because that's part of your well being as well.
Mm.
And then from there, I'm able to figure out what's missing and what you're currently doing and what you actually need. And typically, herbs, essential oils, just plants,
Okay.
just all natural, plant-based regimen. We put those pieces together that you need, and you get a wellness plan that, as I said, alleviates, or for some women, it does reverse the challenges that they have, whether it's physically or emotionally.
Okay. And so obviously you were inspired to do that because of your own illness. So
Yes.
so I work with, you probably know this, I work with teachers who are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. I've spoken to teachers who've suffered from infertility as a result of the stress that they're under. Teachers who have hives on their skin, like they'll book a call with me and then cancel the appointment because they're at the doctor's surgery because they're covered in hives, or they're having panic attacks, heart
Mhm.
palpitations, high
Mhm.
blood pressure because
Yeah.
of all the stresses of the job, or they're or the stresses of the job are exacerbating their condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you help someone who's in that kind of state of high stress, high anxiety, um, and yet they've still got to show up for work every day?
Well, stress is a slow killer, so normally when I work with women who are stressed out, and this example is great because they already know what's causing the stress. We know
Mm,
that, okay, you're in a career that presents a lot of stress. So now that we know that, we can either one, talk about your exit plan,
mm,
or two, figure out a way you can stay in that industry and alleviate your stressors. Does that look like you requesting mental health days once a month? Does it look like you taking less duties on, whether it's staff trainings, or just whatever that looks like, to help you have the time you need to address your mental health. Also, with teachers especially, they're in their classroom so much, so maybe utilizing essential oils where they have a diffuser in the classroom and maybe just some peppermint on their desk, to where when they're feeling that sense of I'm overwhelmed. We do
mm,
know peppermint is one of those essential oils that lessens anxiety and feelings of stress. So we just figure out how to alleviate the stress. And
mm,
another thing, I do have a guy oftentimes helping women to learn how to create balance in their work life and professional life. So that's something else we would do, figuring out how to balance the two so you can take care of you. Those
mm.
are a few things we would do in getting that stress out your life.
Yeah, nice. I love that. Okay, and so is there stuff around diet as well that you would recommend? Like just generally, I know
Yes.
you don't know exactly the
Yeah.
situation, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of teachers I talk to or who write in the Get Out of Teaching Facebook group will talk about how they just grabbed a packet of chips or a muesli bar or something like that, and they're not really eating proper food during the day while they're at work.
Yeah. Yeah. Really important that you start your day. I feel breakfast is the most important part of the day. So start your day with the nutrition your body needs. That's one of the reasons why I do have shake mixes available, because for that busy woman, you need a way to where you can get the nutrition your body needs, and it's something you can make in less than 5 minutes.
Mm.
So normally I recommend starting your day with a smoothie, so you get that nutrition you need. And then as far as your lunch, meal prepping, and you want to focus on your lunch, making those quick lunches, but giving yourself a decent amount of fruits and veggies. If you cannot have meat, that would be a great choice for you to skip meat for your lunch, so you're not just feeling so weighed down in the middle
Oh,
of the
okay.
day.
Yeah.
Or if you do eat meat, make sure it's like a leaner cut of meat like chicken or fish, so you're not going back and feel drained. And then certain meats does affect our mood as well,
Mm.
especially pork, because it builds up so much inflammation in the body. So I would suggest staying away from that, as well as soda. I know it's convenient and you have the vending machines there, but with all that acid in your body, it's not a good thing. And then also with certain sodas, the caffeine, it gives you a really quick boost,
Mm.
and then you come crashing. So I would say getting green tea or black tea, just any herbal teas, um, water, of course, juices, but natural juices without the sugars. Those are some healthy alternatives that you could
Mm.
drink throughout the day.
And I guess too, if you're having those, something like say orange juice that's still got the pulp in it, it's slow. It's you're slowly releasing the nutrition, throughout the afternoon.
Yeah,
It's not just a
yeah,
big spike like if you drink Coke or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay,
And
so yeah, go on. Sorry.
oh, I was going to say, especially now we're living in a COVID-19 world, really want to focus on building your immune system. You're around kids all day. So,
Mm.
with the fruits and veggies, you're building up your immune system, because most fruits and veggies are alkaline, and keeping your body alkaline is one of the keys in helping your body be more resistant to viruses and bacteria.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So, okay, I imagine I've been using this example of a lady called Donna. She's in her early 50s. She's a stress teacher. She's been teaching for maybe 30 years, and she's decided that she wants to leave, but she's got
Mhm.
all these financial commitments, and she's a bit afraid to leave because she hasn't worked in any other sector apart from education, and so there's a lot of uncertainty and fear and maybe some grief as well around leaving a profession that she thought was the one, that she thought was going to be her lifetime job. How would you help someone like Donna who is struggling with that stress and that overwhelm to stay well enough so that she could plan her exit?
I would work with Donna and help her figure out what's the vision she has for herself. It seems like Donna enjoys teaching, but she's burnt out in it. So maybe figuring out how she can use those skills she's gained as a teacher in another career, whether it's creating digital courses or even now you have a lot of platforms where you can write articles and get paid to do that and get paid pretty well to do that. So we would just figure out what aspects of teaching she enjoys and what that would look like in a different career to where her skills would she would still be utilizing them but in a new form. Also, in regards to being concerned about finances, who isn't? Especially as an entrepreneur. I know for me, this is my fourth year in business. And even now, yeah, you get concerned, you have those moments. But creating a plan to where we can alleviate any debt that she can get rid of quickly, maybe credit cards and, some things she could pay off to where she has more breathing space as well. And additionally, while she's teaching and getting that income on a consistent, regular basis, starting in her venture while she's teaching her new venture. And that way she has a nest egg forward to where when she walks away, she has a cushion there for herself.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think that's something when I left, I didn't really have a plan in place. And so I didn't know that it would have been quite helpful to have kept my long service leave payout as a nest egg to start my business as seed money for that. So getting back to the kind of more on the health and wellness side of things, um, what are some stress management strategies that you would recommend from that more like nutrition or behavioral practices point of view?
Sure. Beginning your day utilizing yoga is something I highly recommend. It that way you're centered, you're balanced, you start your day thinking positive thoughts, especially incorporating aromatherapy into your yoga. Essential oils, the smell of certain essential oils just really boosts your mood and help you have those happy thoughts. Essential oils like rose, like yang yang, geranium, just a few essential oils that you can incorporate into your yoga. And the great thing about yoga, even if you're new, YouTube has so many videos for beginners to yoga. So you could start your day with that, keep you centered and aligned, doing that on a consistent, regular basis. As I mentioned earlier, with the food, believe it or not, food is medicine. So we do know certain foods does help alleviate stress. Um, a lot of the berries like strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, having that as one of your snacks. Even dark chocolate, yes, dark chocolate does help with alleviating stress as well.
Okay.
And also, in moderation, it does help with your heart as
Okay.
well.
So I like the
So,
idea of having strawberries, blueberries, and dark chocolate. That sounds pretty nice to me.
yeah, it is pretty good. It's a pretty good snack. I enjoy having it as well.
Okay. So we're you're talking about having something pretty nutritious for breakfast. It's quick, like a smoothie that you can buzz up quickly. And
Mhm,
then lunch, you're going to pre-prepare so that you've got
yeah,
something good to eat to get you through the afternoon. And then what
mhm.
about and then you talked about snacks. What about an evening meal? Like, have you got something for the winter maybe that you could recommend that would be good? Because I always struggle with this. I lost a lot of weight in the first half of COVID, and then I put some of it back on again because um because we were in constant lockdown and I was just miserable, and I just thought I'll forget it. It's too hard. But in the winter was the hardest part for me because the coaching I was having, the weight loss coaching, was really recommending to eat a lot of salads. And Melbourne gets really cold. It doesn't snow here, but it's almost, it's, and we get a lot of misty rain, so it always feels kind of miserable and damp, and um, a salad for lunch or dinner is just not enough when it's weather
Yeah.
like that. I've lit the fire, so I don't want to eat a salad. So how
Yeah.
do I make something really warm and nutritious, and that's going to get me through the rest of the day, but also build my immunity and help me with my stress management?
Sure. For dinner, normally I tell people, have a realistic diet. So for dinner, that's when you would, if you do choose to eat meat, that's when you're going to get your meat, like a fish, turkey, chicken, maybe quinoa, jasmine rice, something like that. And then your veggie, tons of veggies to pick from, green beans, Brussels sprouts, corn, just mix it up with your veggies. And what I love about, even if you do have the, and which I do eat meat, in moderation, I don't eat it every day. But however, depending on the meat you pick, you can put it in your crock pot,
Mm.
like fish or turkey. You can put it in your crock pot with your veggies. You can load up even more veggies, broccoli, onions and peppers, cauliflower. And then at the end of the day, you come home to a meal that's done.
Mm. Yeah. I never got
Yeah.
myself that organized, but I could imagine, in hindsight, that if I had actually cut it all up the night before and then just chuck it in the morning, that could work.
Yeah. 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 It's pretty quick. Or even like chicken, you don't gotta cut it up. Just wash it, of course, and put it in there and
Right.
throw
And
in
just
your
leave it and it
veggies.
just cooks all by itself. Yeah. I haven't really made the most of that. I must admit. My husband's right into we've got a slow cooker. He's right into it, but I haven't really used it to its full benefit. But I like the idea of coming home to the house already smelling like cooking. I used to
Yeah.
ring my kids and say, cut up an onion and stick it in the fry pan. I'll be home in 20 minutes because I thought at least it seems like something's happening in the kitchen, even
Yeah.
if that was all it was just onion, but it smelled good. So it was like a signal to everyone that dinner was happening at some point that evening. Because often I wouldn't get home until after 6. That was partly me not setting boundaries around leaving work on time. So, um, Cassandra, if someone wanted to work with you to coach them in your holistic wellness coaching, what would that look like? How would they get in touch with you?
They would get in touch with me on my website, which is CassandraRHill.com. That's CassandraRHill.com.
Hmm.
And then from there, they'll go to my coaching page and they'll see the different services I have. Generally, I normally have a consult with a person. And at that time, if they have any questions, they'll get answered then. And then if there's anything that I need to know prior to them booking a session, I'll ask during that time as well.
Right. And so do you have like a coaching program or do you do individual sessions? How does that work?
Yes, I do have a wellness intensive, which is a 60-day program. And that program is for a woman who is ready to become a new person, literally, because we walk through, and at the end of those 60 days, you're a new person. For those who aren't quite ready for that type of transformation, I do have one-on-one coaching sessions that are one-time coaching sessions. And with the one-time sessions, women get some good stuff. With the mid-tier program, we do offer a customized wellness plan with that. and you're able to walk out your transformation on your own, basically. And
Okay.
then with our bottom tier, you get the support you need. And then we do have a follow-up monthly session available for those women as well in our group coaching session.
Okay. So it sounds like you've got a few good got offers there for different needs.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So before we wrap this up, what have I missed? What should I have asked you that I didn't ask you today?
I would say my why. I really, because this is Women History Month, I really want us as women to see that this is our time. Women are doing great things in this world. Women are starting businesses at the fastest rate ever in history.
Mm,
Women are breaking barriers to where we're not quite there yet, but we're getting closer to having that pay equity as our counterparts, to where it is starting to trickle down some, to where I see in our lifetime where we will get the same compensation as our counterparts. But the one part that's missing is with our health.
yeah.
We are lagging behind in health, and it's time for us to put ourselves as being number one. Yes, I said it, number one, because if you don't make yourself number one, you're not able to take care of your kids, your spouse, or do any other thing in this world if you're not making yourself number one. So, ladies, let's make right now, this month, and for the rest of our time, let's make ourselves number one and make radical self care the new normal. If I can support you in that, I'm here for you.
I love that idea. Make radical self care the new normal. What a wonderful motto. I think that should be up on your website somewhere. I love that.
That's a good idea. I just might do that.
Yeah, I think you should. I think that's a really great tagline. I'm intrigued by that idea of because I think like one thing I had never even heard the term self care or self compassion until I was almost out of teaching and I was studying the Masters of Applied Positive Psychology, and in that we talked about self compassion, and I'm like, what are you what? Because I'd only ever heard of those things in relation to someone else, that I would do that for somebody else, but never thinking in terms of doing that for myself. And so I think that is really, of all the things you've said, for me, that's the thing that's like the greatest insight. If we make that radical self care the new norm, then we're able to help all the other people in our lives if we have to support other people as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Make yourself number one. This is it. This is our time. And also, with this being our month, Women's History Month, March 8th, which is International Women's Day, I am having an event. It's being hosted through Every Tale Incorporated. So if you go to my website, you'll see all my social media links there. If you go to any of my social media pages, you'll see the information about the event. Tickets are free, so join us in the celebration.
So by the time
I
this goes to air, I think it'll be past the 8th because it's already the 3rd here in Australia. But
okay.
I'm just thinking, maybe, are you going to record those sessions?
Yes.
Okay, so people might still be able to access them even if they can't attend,
Yeah.
because it'll be too
Yeah.
late. But if
Yeah.
you give me that information, I'll make sure it goes into the Get Out of Teaching Facebook group before the 8th, so they know they can still go. I'll
Okay.
put it in that.
Yeah.
I'll do it that way. All right, even if
Yeah.
it'll be too late for the podcast. So, Cassandra, just before we go, one last question. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song is by Michael Jackson. He was one of my favorite artists. And I would have to say my favorite song by him is Man in the Mirror.
Oh, Man in the Mirror. Tell me what is it about that song that resonates for you?
Because I feel like the changes we want to see in the world it starts with me.
Mm,
It starts with this woman in the mirror. So if you want to make a change, you start with yourself and pass it on.
yeah, great. Well, Cassandra Hill, thank you so much for coming on the Get Out of Teaching podcast today. It's been a really interesting conversation, wide ranging through nutrition, well-being, health practices, and finishing up with self-care. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Elizabeth. It's been a delight.
You've been listening to the Get Out of Teaching podcast presented by Larksong Enterprises with your host Elizabeth Diakos. Thanks for listening. If you need more support in your journey out of education, check out larksong.com.au and book a triage call. I'm a career transition coach for educators and I support teachers in their journey out of education and into a life they love. I've been where you are now and you don't need to do this alone.